Welcome back, everybody, to VVR. Finally, I've been wanting to talk about this movie for so long. One of my favorite movies of 2020, Joker. So, obviously, everyone's reviewed this movie to death. If you haven't seen Joker, just I highly recommend it, and I don't recommend it for the reasons that you think. It's not like a very action-packed movie. It's more of a character study of the Joker itself, the Joker character. But I think it's a more relatable story about people in general and what could happen to someone that gets is put in an environment where they can't really thrive. And it's I just got done watching it again for like the seventh time before I made this video, and I'm just super giddy. Anyway, I think this is a very relatable thing that could happen anywhere at any time to anybody, especially right now during this pandemic, and more or less shed some light on mental illness. Since this is a pretty big thing that possibly people are discovering now more than ever, or are just going through a tough time, that this could be something hopefully you can relate to. So right off the bat, Arthur Fleck is our main character, and as we know, he has never been happy in his entire life. He's a pretty miserable person that has a very mediocre job in a city that is designed for the low class of people to not really find any footing and often go on struggling days on end. But that's one of the things I really like about this movie, is that you really get to see the environment of where Arthur Fleck is at, and overall how people go about their daily lives, which is kind of not so different in the state that I'm currently living in. I don't know if you would see some of those parallels in your state at all, but for me, I see that a lot of people are struggling now more than ever, and finding a job is one thing for sure, but keeping a job and who you're around with in the environment can definitely have an effect on you. And that's what the movie shows. Nothing goes right for our character, and that could be something that can be very relatable to you, as in, like, maybe you have a dream that you want to accomplish, or maybe there's something or somebody you want to be someday. The movie really depicts a moment in time where you have dreams, you have aspirations, but it doesn't get you anywhere. So the movie really depicts what it feels like to be in a state of dread, where your environment pretty much is pretty bleak. The job that you work at is not really going as good as you would like. Even though if it's probably a job that you enjoy having or enjoy doing, it's probably not going the way that you think. I would say, in terms of how this could make somebody into a monster, it's definitely the environment that you live in is definitely one of those things. And also, it's the relationship with people that you know, people that you're around. It's often hard to find the right people to talk to hear you out, and to accept you for who you are. Sometimes you don't have someone like that can actually understand what you're going through, or just understand you as a person. And when your environment isn't clicking, and when you can't find anyone that you can relate to, that's when you start having a clash of turmoil. This movie does a really good job at really depicting how every single moment of your life could be shattered in front of you, and how you could just be out of your mind and start doing the things that Arthur himself would do. Now, as far as the movie Inciting Violence, I really think this is a cautionary tale that we all need to respond and take action to, in terms of, like, how do we treat each other is one thing, but our our middle class, and our, I don't want to get too political here, but people that don't have insurance, or medical insurance, or people that just don't have a job to sustain themselves, are really the ones struggling. And I would say that's the majority of people that I see, that I know of. If you don't work a restaurant job, or just like a regular retail restaurant, or anything that gives you a W-2 form, or even any company that doesn't give you insurance, how you go about acquiring medical insurance or just life insurance in general is a very difficult process to do. And we see Arthur also dealing with that as well, as in, one, they cut his funding for his therapy sessions and for his medical supplies. We start to see him derail severely. And one thing could be the pills. The pills could be placebo, but it's more of the fact that there's nothing in his life that is going right. And for someone like me that wants to get ahead, it's often difficult because how do you find yourself moving forward in these kinds of situations? If there's a dream that you want, you're often reminded that you can't attain it. And that's often told by you by people, or maybe the world around you is just pointing signs that you're not meant to do these things. And for you to accept that reality is often difficult, such as the case with Arthur Fleck. See, he wants to be a comedian, and when he finally gets invited to the Franklin Murray show or whatever, he gets invited for the wrong reasons. Even though that's his dream, is to go there and to finally be on the show, he gets there by the wrong reasons. He gets invited simply because he was made fun of. And maybe you find yourself as well fantasizing about what the highlight of my day could be, or what if this person was in my life, how they could make me happy. And we often find ourselves daydreaming of a better life, but reality comes out of nowhere, hits us in the face to remind us that no, this is what your life is, and you have to choose what you do with it. Now, in the case of the Joker, obviously, Arthur Fleck takes his life, and once he discovers the truth about his parentage, he loses it completely. Like, he kills his mom, he goes and kills Frank Murray, and, is the cause of the riots that are going on in his town, or in his city. It is actually the cause and the sole responsibility of the Waynes being murdered. In the terms of when he actually becomes the Joker, for me, Arthur Fleck becomes the Joker when he kills those three guys in the subway. When he uses a gun to kill those three guys in the subway, you start to see a shift in his personality, where he's not being pushed over anymore. He's starting to take more control of his life. But power given to an unstable person can be a very dangerous thing. Anyone can get a firearm, but it's more the fact of, like, should you get a firearm? Like, are you stable enough to actually handle one? It's a very, I don't want to get too political or push in too many subjects, but I just want to ask those questions of what happens when the wrong people go into power. You know what I mean? Chaos often ensues. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is that when he's being carried off to by the police after the Franklin Murray show, he gets hit by a truck, and a couple of rioters pull his body out of the car and put him on the top of the hood. And he wakes up, and he finally, he dons his iconic Joker lip mask thing, whatever. For me, that's such a gratifying scene, but I see it as such a different way. In that scene, I see him becoming noticed. Like, he doesn't care about the riots. He doesn't care about the killings or what's going on in the city. For the first time in his life, he feels that people are noticing him, and to a further extent, they worship him. And that's something he's strived for all his life. Like I said before, I see Joker as a cautionary tale of what could happen to someone that is put in an environment designed for him not to thrive. And I see that a lot in our city. I see that a lot in general, just everywhere. Life isn't fair. But in these times, especially during a pandemic, it's important to understand having somebody there makes all the difference. So if you do have someone, like I said before, that is there with you through thick and thin, give them praise, thank them. Not a lot of people have that, and we have to find out a different way to cope with our own darkness. But yeah, anyway, talked a lot about this already, but I really love this movie. Man, is it a masterpiece. And I see it, like I said, in a different light than other people could perceive it. But I'm actually very curious to know what you guys thought about the movie, and what was your favorite scene, and overall, do you relate to the Joker character? It's kind of weird asking that, but it's more of, have you ever felt any of his emotions throughout the movie, because it's a very powerful thing that we get to see someone's struggles on film, and we get to sympathize or relate to them. So I'm curious to know if you guys have also, if you guys relate to this at all, or how you guys perceive the movie. Anyway, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, Joker, 10 out of 10, masterpiece. Thank you for watching. See you soon.